Well, another interest rate hike by the Federal Reserve today means we're at a 22-year high. The quarter percentage point increase was anticipated, but when will it end? Christian Garzone spoke with a financial expert about the ongoing efforts to combat inflation and the impact it's having on potential borrowers. Christian.
Yeah, Teresa, this is the Fed's 11th hike since March of last year. Now, inflation peaked in June of 2022 last year at over 9%. This is still the fight to keep inflation in check, and this comes down to supply and demand and what the Fed can control here. Now, 0.25% might not seem like a lot, but Ethan Wade with Brighton Securities says this hike by the Fed is a way to drive up the cost of borrowing to curb inflation. At this point, we're kind of used to this.
This is now the 11th time that the Federal Reserve has increased what's called the Fed funds rate.
5.5%. That's now the rate banks charge to borrow money from each other. That, he says, sets the benchmark up for everything else.
Mortgages, credit cards, home equity lines of credit, auto loans, whatever it may be.
Wade says inflation comes down to supply and demand. Now, the Feds can't control supply, but they can control demand.
Think of it, less people can now afford a $500,000 home, or just less people can afford a home now.
Dee here, like many, wants to own a home. She says for the time being, she's putting her hopes on hold.
Like the next step to buying a house or just investing in something big, it's just hard.
Tommy works at Gines. He says the American dream just gets further and further away for more and more folks.
What made America great in the first place was the fact that it didn't matter who you were able to build something that lasted.
Business owner Brian Harding says for the companies borrowing money, that's going to hit everyone.
They're just going to pass it along to the consumer.
Wade says to sit tight. The Feds might raise rates again. We are not out of this yet.
Hard to predict what's going to happen. It's going to come down to the data.
Now, inflation is at 3%, far better than this time last year. But Wade said the goal is to go even lower than that, and it's going to take a while to see if this hike does any good. Live in Rochester, Christian Garzone, News 8. Teresa, right back to you.
All right, Christian, thank you. On news of this rate hike, the Dow rose to have its best winning streak since 1987. So good news, at least today, for Wall Street.